In changing a culture of an organization from telling people what to do to now asking people how they can help us achieve an objective or an end result, we keep talking about templates. So let me just quickly share with you what we mean by templates. They are simply a discussion guide. It's a logical flow of items that need to be addressed in a meeting. And all we're saying is in that discussion guide, we pose the discussion as a series of questions. Now, in the templates, and I'm going to share a couple of them with you, there are two types of templates. There's a common template that, in other words, it's generic, everybody uses it, much like the tide goes in and the tide comes out, there's a generic. And then there are customized, specific templates for specific processes and specific steps that certain organizations need to go through in their organizations. So, for instance, here's an example of a customized template. And it's simply putting together a customer needs analysis, a process for doing a customer needs analysis. And it would be first, who is the customer? What industry are they in? And then what is happening in that industry? What are the opportunities that exist in the industry and for the customer? And what are the threats? So could we have a discussion about that? So that would be a typical question on that. And then once we've identified what is happening in their industries and within the customer environment, then now we start to drop into the more specific for the customer. What are the customer's strategic objectives? What are their goals as a business, and what are they trying to achieve? And if we had to come up with a solution, what would that customer's expectations be of us? What do you think they would expect us to offer as a solution? And then the next step in the template would be, well, what are we in fact offering to that customer? And what are the benefits of our offering to the customer? And then just to test that we in fact are on the right track, how does our offering help our customer achieve their objectives? And what do we see as the next steps to take with that customer? So this is an example of a common or generic template. It's used often. It's action plan template for putting together that plan of action. We need to know who is going to champion this project. We need to know what is the result we're expecting. If we put this plan together, what result would we expect to achieve at the end? Then once we know that, to say, in order to get there, what are all the steps we have to take and how will we take each step? What are the details of those steps? And then if we take those steps, what are the deliverables per step? How will we know that we're actually making progress? Who's going to do it? And we're simply saying here, it must be a person. Don't say a department head or somebody. It must be a specific person who has a passion for making it happen. By when will that deliverable be delivered? And then that's basically put the action plan together. And then just as a few steps to look at in a bit more detail, what resources are we going to need to deliver this particular action? What support from other people are we going to have to try and get to make it happen? And then who needs to be told and kept informed about this particular project? Here's another template that may not be as common as we normally expect, but it's one that we've used a number of times, and it's for analyzing risk in a business. And essentially the first question would be, what are the potential risks? What risks do we face? Like reputation risk, like loss of profits risk, etc. What are the risks we face? How is each risk likely to arise? What is the likely impact of this risk? What would it do to us as a business? What is the probability? How likely is it that it will occur? And what can we do to guard against this risk actually manifesting itself and causing us harm as a business? And again, what resources will we need to do this? What protection can we take? Who will be the champion to ensure that we're keeping a watchful eye on this particular risk? What other participants can help us get there? And again, who needs to be aware of what we're trying to do with regard to protecting ourselves? Another common template that is used frequently in business is the gap analysis, which essentially means where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? Closing the gap. So, of course, we've simply said in the template, what is the issue we want to address? Maybe it's absenteeism, maybe it's customer services dropping. And then to identify what is the existing situation, what's currently working and what's not working, so that we're actually very clear about our context before we make any decisions. And then what is the ideal situation? What are we actually trying to achieve? And then how do we bridge that gap? In other words, what is the solution and what do we recommend? Also a fairly common template is the weighing up of options. So we may have 5 options, 2 options, whatever, but essentially we need to identify what each of the options are and then for each option, explore the pros and the cons for each option, which automatically starts to highlight which is the better option and which are the worse options. And based on that, we can come up with the best option, or alternatively say, what these are all telling us is that there's a hybrid option that we could create out of our exploration. So that's how we would weigh up different options. This template, Solving a Problem, pretty much covers everything. It's an all-embracing one. And really what this is saying is we know what we've got to explore, what's troubling us as a group or a business. And then what we're expecting the manager to be able to do is say, if that's the challenge we face, who are the best 2 or 3 people who can tackle this particular problem? Identify those people, and then with the 2 or 3 people sitting in his office or wherever, identify what the end result is we're trying to achieve with regard to that issue. What are we shooting for? Do we know what the objective is? And then ask the question about what do we need to know in order to start addressing this issue. What are all the things we need to know about it so we can tackle it? And then what do we need to ask about this issue? In other words, translating each of those into a question so that we can then answer the questions in a logical format. And then obviously, what are the next steps we need to take with regard to this problem that we're solving? And then just some of the more common stuff, like what is the date that the skiing is going to be presented, what time, where is it going to be presented, and who are the people who are going to be there? Just a trigger to think of the other issues. And that's essentially the ability to solve a problem. It's just posing questions. So the thought that is probably going through your mind is, how would we apply the thought generator to your organization? And what we're saying is that typically organizations tend to buy at least 2 thought generators, one with a generic set of templates such as this on them, or templates that you might think are popular. And then during a one-day exercise where we work with you with the ThinkPods and the teams who are going to use them, we develop a series of customized templates, which we then stick onto the boards and then cover them with a glossy sheet of cellophane to protect them. And then you have a process by which you can now encourage your people to tackle issues, use that template, go away, answer the questions, come back, present it to us, and let's make some better decisions in our business. For more information, contact Peter Thomas. Telephone number 082 558 2817. Email address petert@participlan.co.za. All of this information is available on our website, www.participlan.co.za.